So it looks like we may have yet another resignation from Trump. This time it's Dan Bongino from the FBI. What the heck's going on with this? Headline, Dan Bongino might quit FBI as Epstein Files scandal boils over, reports. And apparently he's fighting with Pam Bondi. Headline, Dan Bongino weighs resigning from FBI after heated confrontation with Pam Bondi over Epstein Files. What the heck? And they're having a meltdown over in the right wing. Check this out.
Time and time again. And she's saying, ladies and gentlemen, Dan Bongino might quit the FBI. Now, I don't know anything. I'm just some guy sitting here and I saw this tweet. I got some phone calls to make, but as soon as I saw it, I was like, let's go. The simple version. The Epstein story has been botched to such a degree that Dan Bongino is upset over what Pam Bondi has done. And Cash is also upset. They were not consulted on these moves, and now they are pissed. Dan Bongino reported taking the day off, might not even come back to the job. Listen, I have told you this. When Dan Bongino took that job, I said there are very few people that I actually look up to. And that means a lot for me to say because I'm arrogant. Most of my life, I've seen people and said, I can do it better. And then I saw Dan Bongino. He's sharp, he's talented, he's strong, he's a leader.
Okay, so that's Tim Pool's in the right wing, but they're having this meltdown over Dan Bongino leaving. I mean, you know, this is what it is. When you hire a bunch of incompetent people, a bunch of greedy people, a bunch of backstabbers, etc., this is what you're going to get. And I just want to show you kind of who they are. Here's Danny Boy talking about taking the job and all the sacrifice that he's made. Just have a listen to this.
I mean, I gave up everything for this. I mean, you know, my wife is struggling. I'm not a victim. I'm not Jim Comey. It's fine. I did this, and I'm proud I did it. But if you think we're there for tea and crumpets, well, I mean, Cash is there all day. We share it. Our offices are linked. He turns on the faucet. I hear it. He's there he gets in at like 6 o'clock in the morning. He doesn't leave till 7 at night. You know, I'm in there at 7:30 in the morning. You know, he uses the gym. I work out in my apartment. But I stare at these four walls all day in D.C., you know, by myself, divorced from my wife. Not divorced, but I mean separated, divorced. And it's hard. I mean, you know, we love each other, and it's hard to be apart.
But you're doing some great work. You're straightening out the FBI. You're moving buildings. There's a lot of change.
Whenever I see the Fox News people, I mean, you guys know this, they're all actors, but, you know, most of the time, if any of these have any soul left, and who knows, maybe no one at Fox has a soul at all, but I'm sure there's like this WTF, you know, sort of signals in their head all the time, like, what this person's saying, what the heck this person's saying. But that's the Bongino guy. He's the one who evidently, I guess, was sacrificing his wife and his, you know, career to go work at the FBI, and now he's been let down by the Trumpers. Many people in Mogland are ticked off by this Epstein thing. Listen to this.
How many of you are satisfied? You can clap. Satisfied with the results of the Epstein investigation? Clap. Okay, I told you to clap. You guys aren't listening. I'm not going to grade you on a curve. So I was going to get to that. How many of you are not satisfied with the results of the investigation?
If you want to get applause these days in Magaland, you gotta like twist the question around. This is how ridiculous stuff is. And you know, even Laura Loomer's weighing on this stuff. She says, we might not have a deputy FBI director by Monday. We could possibly see a weekend resignation from FBI by Bongino. Sources tells me Kash Patel agrees with Bongino's sentiment and also agrees that Blondie, it's Pam Bondi, needs to be removed from her post as AG, so Attorney General. Now it's up to President Trump to step in. The MAGA base would like to see Trump fire Blondie. She is a massive liability to this otherwise great administration. I mean, here's the thing with this stuff, guys, is that they're all liabilities, every one of them. And the game that they're all always playing is, who can we blame? It's the blame game administration, right? They're all incompetent. They're all backstabbers. They're all greedy. And how long can this last? And that's why I always tell you guys this stuff is unsustainable. There's a lot of infighting with this particular issue. And then you have this kind of stuff happening in Texas. Because I also want to show you that there are people living in Delulu land, Texas. I know I'm so mean to Texas, but if you guys live there, you probably know. Listen to this.
It's bittersweet. This is devastating. and it's horrible. But it's the president's here. He's supporting us. He's sending whatever support he can for us. So I'm excited, but on the flip side of things, it's very heartbreaking. It's very heartbreaking.
Is there anything that you all want the president to do, as for the safety, the alarm system, and all of the complaints that people have been saying?
Well, honestly, to tell you the truth, I think people, I understand that they want an alarm system, but let's focus on the families and everyone that we've lost. That's what's important right now. And he's going to be going into the building over there just down the road. He's going to be...
So the reason why, I find this stuff delusional is because it often, the way they're talking now, it feels like the gun violence kind of stuff, to where, for those of us who take this stuff seriously and want to protect people's lives in the future, we're like, hey, how can we make changes so this doesn't happen again? And the way she answers is like, wow, let's not talk about alarm systems now. Let's not talk about that. Let's just focus on the families and thoughts and prayers kind of stuff. That's basically what it ends up being, right? And nothing gets changed. That's why it's so frustrating when you have to deal with this crowd. For those of you guys who follow any sort of issues, let's say any kind of tragedy like this, you'll know, right? Rational people would want to solve the problem, but they're always like, oh, it's too early to talk about solving problems. That's essentially what Republicans' message is all the time. Trump was even actually going into this with Abbott here, and was asked a question of a reporter about this stuff. Have a listen to his answer.
Here with CBS News Texas, several families we've heard from are obviously upset because they say that those warnings, those alerts didn't go out in time, and they also say that people could have been saved. What do you say to those families?
Well, I think everyone did an incredible job under the circumstances. This was, I guess Christie said, a 1 in 500, 1 in 1,000 years, and I just have admiration for the job that everybody did. There was just admiration. Only a bad person would ask a question like that, to be honest with you. I don't know who you are, but only a very evil person would ask a question like that. I think this has been heroism. This has been incredible, really, the job you've all done. It's easy to sit back and say, oh, what could have happened here or there, Maybe we could have done something differently. This was a thing that has never happened before.
So that's how they handle things, right? They always like, well, no one could have known. It's never happened before. And alarm systems, why are you asking? Oh, you're evil if you ask, right? And guys, I understand this stuff. If you hang out with these kind of people, the people who live in Delulu land or people who love Trump, it's crazy, right? You feel crazy. You're just like, man, what's going on? How do I even communicate with these people? And I just always want to reiterate, you're not alone. You're not crazy. These people are living in delusional land, and we're basically just trying to wake them up to reality. Because we are talking about real people's lives. I want to be clear on that. The Dan Bongino case, all this stuff is related. It's all related because it is a Trump administration that's deeply incompetent. And when their staff members get effectively backstabbed by Trump, this is sort of what happens. And he's got a long list of people that he's basically betrayed, told lies about, any number of things. And it always falls apart in the end. That's why I said this is completely unsustainable. I always mention that stuff. You got to understand it. And then right now at the moment, they're trying to push out Powell. I keep seeing this. They're trying to make some new controversy to then bring more Trump people in. That's the whole plan. They want to push out anyone who's competent and bring in incompetent people. At the moment, they're trying to also negotiate some sort of thing with India. But it's the same kind of stuff because, like, how can you operate with any sense of good faith working with Trump or working for Trump if you know that they're going to basically wake up one morning and you'll get this crazy social media post that Trump's changed his mind. That's why people get upset, right? If you guys ever had a job with a boss that's erratic, for example, we'll use the example of Musk, is an addict. It's impossible to work for these kind of people. Let me read some details of the India thing, and I want to put all this stuff together because you have to understand the thing as a whole to where you can foresee this stuff coming, right? Again, Trump is always looking for someone to blame. They're looking to blame Powell, or if this deal with India doesn't work, he'll look to blame his trade team. Here, for example, this one says here, India doesn't expect to receive a tariff letter, unlike many other nations this week, and anticipates a trade agreement with the announced through a statement, probably from one of Trump's tweets, I'm sure. The people said, asking not to be identified because the discussions are private. The interim deal would allow for continued talks, giving a New Delhi space to resolve outstanding issues ahead of a broader agreement expected this fall. So whenever Trump says he's got whatever deal, right, this is like from India, what you're hearing is like, it's not really a deal. It's just like, hey, we'll keep talking. That's what it ends up being, right? So we're waiting for a statement from Trump to say that we are going to keep talking. Here's Navarro talking about the current economic state. Again, one of Trump's people. Have a listen to what he has to say.
Not doing two things. One is that if you simply increase the growth rate by 1%, like we did in the first term, CBO got it wrong same way in the first term, you raise a couple of $1 trillion of that, so you get almost to zero, okay? You get to neutrality. They didn't count the tariff revenues, and that's a trillion or more.
Because they're coming from the executive branch, not from Congress. They can't, technically.
Oh, but they should have counted it because it counts towards the debt. I mean, look at it. $100 billion in, I don't know, the first 6 months.
The reason why I'm showing you Navarro, and you guys probably know this, and he was talking on Bloomberg today, is these people are wildly incompetent. And if you have any sense of what he's talking about, you'll be like, oh my God, this is nuts. So basically it's like, oh, well, I know they're one saying our growth is only going to be like, 1.6, maybe 1.8%. But guys, all we have to do is just like increase it to 1%, 1% more. We're going to double our growth rate. Why not even more than that? And look at, suddenly we don't have no deficit. And it's like, you understand when you're talking about, say, GDP, to increase growth by like X amount, is not a simple thing as they make it sound. Or they'll act like, oh, we're going to, get all this money through tariffs and everyone's going to be rich. But it's like you, the American consumer, are going to be paying the tariffs. On top of that, when prices get too high, there's only so much you can raise tariffs because basically people aren't going to go buying anymore. That's why it's completely faulty logic. You can't just raise to infinity and expect everyone to pay triple what they pay now or whatever they plan. The whole thing is crazy. But polling data is turning against them. So, for example, on one of Trump's key issues, immigration, it's really starting to sour as you just get, honestly, there's just really awful news every day. Guys, I really know. I mean, I'm reading it here. Farm worker dies, hundreds arrested in immigration raid met by protesters, you guys know. So it's good to understand, though, that not everyone is for the Trump people. More people are seeing what's happening, and you can see it in what's going on. ICE agents arrest 71-year-old U.S. citizen in California, traumatized. What? And I think, I don't even know what to say. I just try my best to tell you guys that what's going on. And like I said, you're not alone here. Poll finds record high share of Americans view immigration positively, right? So now people are starting to question, like, what does it mean to be an American? Like, where do you want the country to go? Americans' views on immigration effect on the USA. So 79% are saying it's a good thing. 17% saying it's a bad thing. Again, this is one of the cornerstones of Trump's policies, right? And Trump will change his rhetoric on this stuff. So sometimes he'll say, oh, let's kick out everyone. Another time he'll say, no, we need to keep farm and hotel workers. Then you turn on the TV another day. It's like, oh, okay, let's send the ICE goons to go, to raid a farm and get everyone there. But the people are just like, this is why it's hard to follow this stuff every day, because it changes nonstop. And again, Trump has a bunch of incompetent people in power. Partisan views on immigration effect on the USA. So Democrats, a good thing, 91%. Independents say it's a good thing at 80%. And Republicans are the lowest in the chart, right? So they tend to be more anti-immigrant, tend to dislike outsiders. You can see the numbers for yourself at 64%. So there's still a majority of them, but that's where you're going to find the MAGA people in that land. This is another one. Recent trend in public support for immigration proposals. This one caught my eye. Allowing immigrants who were brought to the U.S. illegally as children the chance to become U.S. citizens if they meet certain requirements over time. So that is actually increasing 4%. I fall into that camp. If you guys know my story, I always mention it on the channel. I wrote a book about it. I'm from Vietnam. I was brought to the USA as a baby, effectively, and I had no choice in the matter, right? I was not a citizen. No one made me a citizen until years later. It's a long story, but there's a lot of people who have a similar situation as mine. And so I think that there are Americans out there who understand the situation in America can be very, very complex, and lots of people have different types of stories to tell about this. Also, like, for example, do Americans think it's great to just hire all these border people? Hiring significantly more border patrols. So that's actually dropping. I guess what's happening is support for that is dropping. I guess what's happening is people are seeing the results of Trump policy. It is, broken down by Partisan, though, for example, we'll just start with the first one, but there's any number of these numbers you can pick out. Path to citizenship for immigrants brought illegally as children. So Democrats support that, 97, but then you have Republicans at 71, so slightly lower. But you know, they like I said, I think the more that people hear personal stories, find out that their neighbors are involved. You may have family members, like you may have a family member that married someone in these situations, right? Deport all immigrants living in the U.S. illegally. Republicans are for that, 84%. That's now down to 77%. So support is dropping for that stuff. You have independents, support is at 31, and Democrats is around 20-ish. This is the other whereas it breaks down by partisans. Just want to show you guys this. Views of President Trump's handling of immigration by party. Strongly approve. The Republicans are at 59. Approve is at 26. But then it breaks. Independents and Democrats are on the opposite spectrum of that, as you guys can see on the poll. So I'm just showing you guys all this together. Again, you have to put it into, you know, a fuller picture of like, how do you talk about immigration, the economy, the whole Epstein thing, which may or may not ever come out. We'll find out. I mean, there's already infighting at the FBI. And then you got the people living in Delulu land, right? My, you know, hope when we have these discussions, just talk honestly about this stuff. I think the only way to really solve anyone's problems in any of these things is to acknowledge what the truth is, and that, hey, we're trying to just have a real conversation about this stuff. And I always appreciate your time and thoughts in the community and in the comments. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.